Thanks for nothing, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. That's what a new billboard in Times Square says. It's bashing the Democrat lawmaker over Amazon scrapping a second headquarters in New York City, taking thousands of jobs and billions of dollars with it. Alfredo Ortiz is the CEO of Job Creators Network, and, well, that's the group behind the billboard. We did call the Congresswoman. So far, no response. Wow, that's a heck of a billboard right in the heart of Times Square.
Right down the street, that's right.
You think she got the message?
Well, we're hoping she got the message. I mean, all we're really trying to do is highlight a very, very important thing, and I know you've had some great conversations on many of the shows here as well, is that socialism takes and capitalism creates. And what this did here is socialism took from from the fine New Yorkers here, 25,000 jobs. We estimate about $4 billion in lost annual wages, about $12 billion in lost economic activity. I mean, these are real numbers. And you talk about the tax incentive piece. She had a problem with, I guess she thought that there were $3 billion in sitting
that
somewhere in some fund, and they were going to write a check or something, right? Not an incentive that was going to be over many, many years. But when you look at it overall as the deal, which, by the way, it was Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio that actually worked on this deal, right? So that the two CEOs of the state and of the city working on this deal, they thought it was a great deal. They brought it together. It was $27 billion of tax revenues over 25 years estimated at a cost of $3 billion. Look, I'm not a math major, but that sounds like good math to me. Those are some pretty good numbers.
But then does this worry you about what we're seeing even on a larger scale? This, whether it's an embrace of socialism or a rejection of capitalism, it is a movement that is real. It's got amazing wind in its sails. You have a lot of people who are dissatisfied with really, I mean, we're right now an economic juggernaut and they're unsatisfied. What happens at the next recession?
Yeah, so I think what it is, it's just really a lack of education. I mean, I think this is one of the things, and in fact, I think on one of the morning shows, the other shows on CNBC, actually, Andrew Ross Sorkin actually said this is one of the dumbest things he's ever seen. I mean, this has just made no sense whatsoever. Huge opportunity, but it was the lack of education, I think, in terms of how policy really impacts people overall and how policies work. We need to do more of that. We need to teach people more in simple terms.
Well, then how do you teach someone, if someone, let's say, the third generation in the housing projects,
right.
And they keep seeing rich, wealthy guys. Alfredo, you got on a nice suit, a nice tie, and you're talking to them. Sometimes they feel like you're mansplaining, like, you're talking down to them. So how do you get someone who feels like they're not a part of this great American experience, no one in their family is a part of it, get to buy into this without telling them in so many words that they're not educated?
Look, I think when 70% of, let's say, of New Yorkers said they liked this idea, they want it, and it still went away because one person, frankly, who wasn't even representing the district, basically talked it away, right? When they see that happening, they go, we'll never have a chance of this American dream. So we got to break it down into the opportunity that exists for people to take advantage of this American dream. And we talk about the tax revenues and the incentives, but I want to focus on the lost economic activity that was going to happen there in Long Island City. Think about the pizza guys, the deli guys, the shoe shine guys, the dry cleaners. I mean, these are the real people of America, hardworking Americans that have an American dream, who all of a sudden lost that opportunity to take advantage. Think of all the companies, all the people that had to service something like an Amazon headquarters. I mean, an unbelievable opportunity. And by the way, Charles, remember, there are other companies that would have come to help service Amazon.
Sure.
So this would have built upon itself. I mean, I can see why the governor and the mayor decided to do this. It was a good thing for New York. And unfortunately, she made a call here that, frankly, she shouldn't have made because she doesn't even cover that district, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, although some of the local politicians, you mentioned how the two captains in New York were sort of quarterbacked this. There were some local politicians who were upset they weren't part of the process. But I think this social justice idea is what's driving so-called economic policy, particularly within the Democratic Party, and it's gaining traction. And this is the thing that you wonder, what's the responsibility of business? For instance, I talk often about General Motors. A week ago, they posted their earnings. They made $3 billion in North America. They make nothing around the world, but they're letting people go in this country and keeping workers outside of this country. So where's the responsibility of capitalism almost to save itself from people in this country who are saying, I'm doing okay, but golly, look at those guys.
Yeah, and I think that's where the opportunity does exist for companies to really do the right thing. I actually really believe that Amazon Amazon would have been the right corporate citizen. And I'm not here, trust me, trying to defend Amazon, but I'm defending this idea of capitalism, of the American dream. I mean, again, when you look at, for example, Nancy Pelosi, who called, you know, the wage increases and the bonuses from the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, when she called that, you know, basically crumbs. And then you take Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, who takes these $150,000 per year jobs. That was the average one, 25,000 of them. And she calls those scraps. I mean, this all of a sudden becomes the party of basically crumbs and scraps, basically, right? So, but I think, you know, as true corporate citizens, I really do believe they would have done right here. Well, and you see these companies do invest in their
that billboard was
community.
Fantastic. I'm glad you put it up, and I think a lot of people are going to start to think. Alfredo, thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it.